everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the virtual edition of Tripura Eastern Himalayan Nationalist Forum 2020. Today we have with us some very distinguished and celebrated personalities from Tripura to share their views on the topic of discussion, community approach in restoring river ecosystem to contain ecological and biodiversity loss in Tripura. The session today is supported by Spatian Global Tripura. Our first panelist today is Dr. Samrat Goswami. Dr. Goswami is an assistant professor at the Department of Rural Management and Development, Tripura University. He completed his graduation from Ramakrishna Mission Vidya Mandir, Belur Math in economics and MSc in economics from Calcutta University. Dr. Goswami's PhD is in tank as a source of water in West Bengal, which he completed from Kalyani University. His area of interest is resource economics, natural resource valuation, and resource conflict resolution. At present, he is associated with the Department of Rural Studies, Tripura University. Welcome, sir. Our next panelist is Dr. Selim Reza. Dr. Selim Reza has 17 years of experience in bamboo sector to implement bamboo cluster-based enterprise development in India and East Africa. Dr. Reza started his career in bamboo sector with Tripura Bamboo and Cane Development Center, a community-based organization. He successfully managed bamboo incense sticks cluster funded by Khadi and Village Industries Commission, Government of India, and bamboo incense sticks value chain development in India. He also implemented South Phase 2 bamboo project from 2017 to 2019 in Tanzania, Madagascar, and Ethiopia. Currently, he is working as program manager with INBAR based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to implement bamboo projects in Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. He is the recipient of National Award from the Government of India, winner IDRC Scroll Research Fellow, and contributed chapters in 8 books and contributed 30 research papers and articles in reputed scientific journals and popular magazines. We are glad to have with us Dr. Pawan Kaushik. Dr. Pawan Kaushik is the Regional Director at Center for Forest-Based Livelihood and Extension Tripura. His research experience includes various aspects of national priorities like agroforestry, research and extension, demo village establishment, bamboo propagation, bamboo agroforestry models, shifting cultivation, bamboo shoot production plots, bamboo preservation for green building, establishment of home herbal gardens, documentation of tribal knowledge, vermicomposting techniques, broom grass cultivation, patchouli cultivation, participatory management of natural resources, and SWOT analysis. He has been honored with the Brandeis Award, the National Award for Excellence in Forestry by the Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, Government of India, in 2013, and conferred with the Elite Samman in 2018, Bridging Science to Society with Significant Achievements. Welcome, sir. The session today will be moderated by Dr. Vishwendu Bhattacharjee. Dr. Bhattacharjee has been in journalism for past 23 years. He graduated in economics and postgraduated in mass communication and did PhD on growth of vernacular press of Tripura since 1947. He is currently holding the position of state in charge of press of Tripura in India's leading news agency UNI, and also working for Times of India. Besides, Dr. Bhattacharjee has been associated with the environment movement for last 2 decades and has written several books on climate and nature of Tripura, including textbook on environment science for school children. He is one of the editors of widely acclaimed publication Northeast Biodiversity and Sustainable Economic Development. Welcome, sir. And may I request you to take over and proceed with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I welcome the esteemed panelists board with me. This is my privilege to interact in such a brilliant session on eco-restoration. My question to this session will be mostly related to community development and the approach, approach to mitigation for river pollution, because all of you know that the recent study study of Central Pollution Control Board, it has indicated that India is having 36 most polluted river, and unfortunately, 4 of them are falls in Tripura. This one is River Howrah, which is the main lifeline water source of city Agartala and the major part of West Tripura district. Second one is Burima. Burima is the Sipahijola district river. It is contributing a lot to the agricultural production in our Sonamura subdivisions and all. And third is Gumoti. Gumoti, you know, the longest, the largest river of Tripura. It is connecting to River Meghna of Bangladesh, and it is also one of the biggest source of hydroelectricity producing in Dumbur. And this last river is River Monu. It is actually, it is not contributed in that sense for human life consumption. So, hearty welcome to my fellow panelists. It's my proud privilege to be here with the esteemed gathering. So, let us talk about the river pollution and restoration issues. So far, my understanding is concerned, the river pollution is across the country. It's a big issue, and mostly from industrial waste. But in case of Tripura, it is not industrial waste. It is something related to other. I think it is the untreated discharge of our liquid waste to the water bodies, and the communities, those who are living along the riverside, they are also contributing a lot to the river pollution. So let us not discuss much about this. My first question with my fellow panelist, Dr. Somrat Chaudhary, is a specialist of this rural development and management. So my question to Dr. Somrat will be, sir, the problems of river faces are complex, and the solutions are to need to be multi-phased. So different stakeholders are involved in this river pollution control program. So my question to you, sir, what could be the mitigation plan for the riverian communities of Tripura is combating this increasing river pollution? How do you react, sir?
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. I have a very small presentation, one slide only, so that I can just give you a glimpse of this, that it's community-based river management. We are talking about rivers, and we know that the rivers in Tripura, we are having all of them. None of them, they are perennial in nature. They are based on rain and other. They are systematic in the way because they are having water from different small sources, not continuous sources. That's why they are not perennial. So the general water level are moderate or lower than moderate for most of the months in a particular year. So it's not that everywhere we are getting sufficient amount of water that is necessary for the community, for the rural people, even for the urban people to sustain and according to their demands. So if you talk about the river pollution, and as the river flows from different areas, different regions, somewhere in some of the places they are having the rural population, somewhere there is no population at all, and in a few of the places we have the urban areas where the demand for water for different reasons is very, very high. So therefore the pollutions are also differing from one particular place to another particular place. What is the most important part is, like, it's not only the prerogative of the government. It's not that the government will do everything and the community or the people or us, the common people, will do nothing. Everything looking towards the government and say that, okay, fine, the government is going to do this. The government need to do this. We're talking about our rights and not talking about our fundamental duties is not a proper solution, what I feel. So from that angle, you can see that user differs from place to place, means demand for water and quantity demanded also differs based on what type of use people are actually doing. On the basis of that, water demand actually differs. So to take up the situation to control the pollution, or rather to think about a solution about the river pollution, we need something which is multidimensional. There are different stakeholders, the users themselves, the very important stakeholder, the non-governmental organizations are the stakeholders, the governments at different levels are also the stakeholders. So if we try to solve the problem has no face at all. Problem is a combination of different small and smaller versions of the problems. So if we really want to solve a problem, a real life problem, we have to hit the problem from those angles, all the different angles. We, the people from different fraternity, we have a kind of idea that, okay, fine, I am comfortable to look into the problem from my own comfort zone. Maybe somebody else will look into the problem from his or her own comfort zone. So in that way, if we all together, if we try to hit the problem from our own comfort zone together, then maybe we'll be able to solve the problem and we'll be able to come to a applicable solution which will be beneficial for the community, which will be beneficial for the state, and definitely will be beneficial for the country. So we have to think about certain issues. I have broadly just mentioned them in terms of the need of the hour. One is multi-dimensional approach. It's not that only single dimension will solve a problem. The people from economics, we always try to talk about an equilibrium kind of situation. And we know that a static equilibrium means nothing. So equilibrium has to be dynamic. And if the equilibrium needs to be dynamic, then it has to cover a whole lot of dimensions together. Okay, so that's why a multi-dimensional approach is very important. Most important part is the community participation. I am using a resource, natural resource. Unless and until I am using it in a proper manner, it cannot sustain itself. Natural resources are natural capital. So if we keep on using, extracting these natural resources, then even the renewable resources will become exhaustible in one particular day. So therefore, it's very important that the community, the people who are actually using this resource here, particularly the river water, this community has to be a very important participant in solving this river pollution related problem. What else we can do? We can think about a formation of institution. That, okay, fine, if there is no institutional structure, then we can think of forming an institution. Or if there is an institution already there, in case of common property resource management, there can be an institution which is prevailing for maybe 100 years. And for 100 years, this community is protecting their natural resource, common property resource. So in that way, if there is a kind of institution already existing, then government can think, or we can think about strengthening that kind of institution. We have to find out how we can strengthen an existing institution with some kind of scientific support, with some kind of support from the educationalist, with some kind of support from other organizations, so that it can function properly. Next one is the implementation of the extension initiatives. There should be training that, okay, fine, this is the situation, these are the problems you are facing. So these are the way you can tackle the problem. Extensions are also very important. Then arrangement of demonstration projects. That means if there is a problem, then using another case study of another country, maybe I can tell you one particular case study that was a Baobab River case study that was in Southeast Indonesia. There the community people, they have actually done a tremendous job, and they have solved a river pollution related problem there. We have a very good case study that was done by Tarun Bharat Sangh in Rajasthan. That was Arabari River Parliament kind of case, where there was a fantastic job done by Tarun Bharat Sangh, where they have created water. We have, since childhood, we have in mind that Rajasthan means there is everywhere, there is sand and all these things. But if we visit that part of Rajasthan, you will see that Rajasthan is no way different from UP, because they have arranged so much water in such a planned way. So these are the ways where the demonstration effect can play a very important role. We can understand sometimes the narratives, but it's always better if we have a kind of a pictorial presentation, if we have a kind of a small drama kind of presentation that hits us a lot, that makes sense to the people who cannot understand the narrative properly. Narrative is a little different, it is difficult for these people. Then proper networking among stakeholders, that is also important. We want to come to a solution. That means we want to converge all our directions to a particular point. That point is problem solving, and here in our case it's a solution of river pollution, come out from river pollution. And if that be so, then there should be a proper networking between among the government officials, among government agencies, among the NGOs, among the community, so that we can strengthen the institution, and that institution will tackle the situation like anything. Then we are talking, we can think about improving alternative water sources. We know that the Northeast is blessed with rainwater. If we can think about that alternative water source, rainwater harvesting I'm talking about, then that also will reduce the demand for river water. So in that way, maybe the pollution can also be tackled. And we can think about the waste recycling also. That waste recycling can create some kind of income generation for the community also. At the same time, finally, what I would like to say is, like, as we were talking about Howrah River also, that with all these things, we should also think about the dredging, because that dredging, which government can only implement, that is also a very important part for a proper community-based river management system, where the stakeholders has to be involved effectively and efficiently at the same point of time to come out to a applicable solution. Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. That was my...
Thank you, Dr. Goswami. It's a very enlightened this issues you have discussed. But now, let me ask or go to our Dr. Pawan Kaushik, the Regional Director of Center for Forest-Based Livelihood and Extension. Pawan Kaushik sir, may I ask you one question? The Somrat sir has given an elaborated description of the community involvement, how we can do it. But everything is roaming around the economic activity, which is the people, those who are depending on the river, their life, their culture, their tradition, many things are involved in a river. So, having said so, if I go to you, just may I ask you one question, that how this kind of changing paradigm of our culture, life, how it can affect our traditional lifestyle and a livelihood, which is extremely important, which can substantially reduce the river pollution. Can you enlighten us on this line?
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. First of all, I would like to thank the Balipara Foundation for giving us this opportunity to discuss a brilliant aspect for Tripura. And I would like to answer your question through some figure facts. So, as we know, the history tells and the scientist confirms that humans originated near rivers, and there are thousands of rivers in India. Among them, there are 36 most polluted rivers have been marked. Yeah. So, I mean, the hydrological state of our rivers are changing due to the anthropogenic activities, and it has severely negative impact on the river ecosystems. So it is very surprising that if I compare the state of Tripura with the state of my state, that is Chhattisgarh, it is very different, very much different in regard to the profile of industries. The industries in other states they are very big and very having much impact on environment. But there is no such industry in Tripura. But there is a industry called rubber industry, and that is more than enough to contribute pollution to the river ecosystem. There are more than 250 rubber processing units all over Tripura. It's very small. About 8 districts are there. Within the 8 districts, more than 250 RPCs are there, rubber processing units. And if you see the rubber latex based product making process, there are different type of chemicals and additives are used. So basic raw rubber, then activators, accelerators, fillers, plasticizers, anti-degradants, curatives, etc. There are other chemicals also which are used for I mean value addition in rubber. Those are resin, wax, metallic, coagents, then dispersants, then pre-vulcanization inhibitors, binders, etc. So these are all chemicals and hazardous chemicals. And finally, when the rubber products that is come into the ground as a scrap, so that is another challenge to the rubber industry to manage the scrap after use. And here you can see I found one paper on rubber industry. So there are many types of industry. You can see left side tire, tube industry, then molded, fabricated products, then latex-based products, then reclaimed rubber, and all are having the wastewater sources. There are many sources of wastewaters in these industries, and those wastewaters are very much contaminated with so many things. You can see right side, right from oil and grease, and then there are many hazardous chemicals. So these are the status in regard to the rubber industry, pollution from the industry, and you can see these are the RPCs, rubber processing units, and like this there are 250 and more in the year 2013-14 it was about nearly 300 RPCs. Nowadays I don't know how much is there. So here the polluted ecosystems that affects our environment in many ways, that results into the downstream fish kill, which is very frequent, and the fish kill that affects the livelihood of the fishing families. The number of fish species has also reduced to a great extent. Very important varieties of export varieties of fish are becoming extinct. So impact on fish-based livelihood that you can imagine. There are many fishes famous like hilsa, rohu, katla, and prawns. Once had a high demand in foreign countries, but now due to the river pollution, these varieties are prized. I mean, fishes, they got contaminated with disease-causing microbes and many harmful chemicals. Fish from the polluted rivers are also found to be high in mercury, lead, and cadmium, and hence these are unfit for the consumption. Also, fish from such rivers is found to be contaminated with some harmful microbes. Those are Salmonella, Shigella, and others. So consequently, several countries have banned our fish for imports, and this causes a several loss of livelihood severe loss of livelihood to the fish families in India. The fishermen and fish farms that once flourished on bank of rivers, of various Indian rivers, are finding it increasingly difficulty in earning their livelihood and restoring their livelihood again. So, what can be done? That is, as I was discussing about the plantation on the river banks, so that the pollutants coming from the industries, from the agriculture, those can be absorbed with those plantations, and those plantations should be raised as a buffer zone, so that at least we can minimize the contribution of pollutions to the river through runoffs. And there are other community approach that should be adopted. The locals can report ground results and activities on a regular basis. This is a kind of monitoring. Then we should train and educate people about proper maintenance of the sewage system and waste disposal. We should create a waste management system. Then we should apply rainwater harvesting. We should encourage community can use more environment friendly idols, alternatives that use organic materials. Then community can think about the alternatives for disposal of animal carcass and other bio-waste, particularly during some religious festivals. So one more thing, not only the rubber industry, there are pollutions coming out from the agriculture also by using chemical fertilizers. But fortunately, our hill people, they are using Zoom shifting cultivation, and that is mostly organic kind of cultivation. And though these days some Jhumias are using chemical fertilizers, that is one aspect. But another thing is even the Zoom cultivation is also not that much eco-friendly, because it also contributes some pollutions, I mean changes in the pH value of the local water bodies. Studies have revealed that there are water bodies inside the Zoom, or we can say there are water bodies surrounding to the Zoom lands. They have lower pH value at about 5.5, and there are some other elements like sulfate and potash that also goes low, and the unwanted material, I mean elements, that is nitrate, sodium, etc., that goes very high. So these are the some of the points. We should use vermicompost, so that these kind of things can be avoided. Instead of using the pesticides and other things, we should use the vermibed wash. So with this, thank you all, and I think I have covered the answer which was expected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kaushik sir. So, Kaushik sir has given us a broad perspective of the main causes of river pollution in Tripura, and as well as he has hinted some points which can help the community to prevent the river pollution as far as these livelihood issues are concerned. So, let me move to our next speaker, Dr. Salim Raza. Mr. Reza, you know this whatever we have heard from Somrat sir and Kaushik sir, both of them are emphasizing on the community mobilization. It is not about the pollution control, it is also about the changing the attitude of the people to the causes. So, Mr. Reza, you are working with the communities for more than 20 years. So, let me ask you a simple question, that how can the scientific and the traditional knowledge can be used together to prevent this problem of river pollution, especially in Tripura? Reza sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, moderator sir, and respected panelists, also the host of this program, and special thanks to our different partners, so giving me this opportunity with this event. Before that, I can just start something, then I am coming to this point, how the traditional knowledge can be used for our river protection or for the improve the quality of the river. As you know, the river is the lifeline of a community or a state or a nation or a country. Without river, we can't think the economy or the life or the ecology and environment of a community or a particular specific country. So here I can try, and I can try my best to how to do this traditional, how to capture this traditional knowledge and experience of our local practices, so that they can use properly, so we can get the outcome for the protection of our river. So we can, I can use this word term, this is the P4 approach, participatory approach, how the community can use, the local people can involve in the river protection and river restoring system. Because if you involve the local community, at the end of the beneficiary of the community people who has in the on riverine side or the of the deciding of the river and the different part of the river from the downstrop to end. So how we will involve them? So that is the basically the approach. So in this approach, when if you involve to this community for the restoring the rivers, so that can give us a lot of opportunity, because river give us food, their shelter and their water and everything. So it gives an opportunity for the riverine community in a planning and development process. We should give we can encash the local knowledge, how their traditional knowledge they have. Like example, this is the, if you go to the entire area in the Riang community, I had seen in the some places in North Dhalai, which is the particularly some area in North Tripura. People are doing the prayer and other things from the puja during the different times, so that they never cut the trees, so that they protect the trees, so the tree will protect the water and conserve the forest, so that there is some traditional thing they are developing. In some places in Tripura, there is some traditional forest management system also they are developing. So this is also some system they are coming up, and people are giving due respect on that. Secondly, healthy river management for the community and the nature, it is very important. Participatory partnership building with the local people for the management of the biodiversity. It is also one of the important area for the local people knowledge and experience we can use. And I can go more in detail because it has given some our food and other things. So how we can develop this approach, for the P4 approach for the local people. One P, because you need the community and local, another P needs the people, another need of the government. This is the public. So they can involve in such a way so that we can encash the knowledges, so that we can use participatory approach in the rural areas. So in participatory approach, we can capture the different traditional knowledge, value system where the people have, and because people are doing traditionally all these things. And in this, that can help to the to us to protect the river, and that knowledge can be shipped and can be shared to the next generation people, So that can be very good approach. Third thing is that this is the local institution, especially the religious institution. This is very major role they are playing for the river restoration, or for their how to do all these things. So this religious institution, we have to make the sensitize and make the awareness building, so we can capture the knowledge and traditional belief system, so that we can help to this ecosystem development through river restoration. So, but there is to do these things, there is some, definitely there is some challenges. To first we need the community mobilization. So we have to mobilize the community in different way, different situation, so that they can come forward and they can involve, and we can give the space to the people, so that they can participate in the system in a better way, so that we can do things. Third thing is that is the knowledge management. This is one of the very important. Basically, you ask this question, this traditional knowledge and practices, what it is there. Just suppose example we can give in the Bihar, in some part when the flood is coming. So local people have some traditional knowledge, so that they believe in the system. This is the this month, this is the this activities you have to do this month, this activities you do. So they have some kind of a time planning, and so in that basis they can take the preparation to manage the flood, so they can protect their valuable assets and all these things. Similarly, we can also do something when all these things are using through the river, because in the Tripura most of the rivers there is the using for the transportation of the bamboo. So bamboo is one of the major source of livelihood for the upper catchment area. So in upper catchment area, people should be educated to this, so that they can protect they should not cut the harvesting and management practice will adopt, so that when the heavy rain will come, so the protection of the siltation will be very less on the river. So in this way and system we can build up, and we can develop the more partnership and networking in the local community. Dr. Samrat Goswami already mentioned. In that way, we can document all these things, and so we can get a better way to manage our river for the protection for our community and our people, and ensure our livelihood. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Salim Reza sir. So, what I understand from your point, that if we can blend the traditional knowledge with our modern technology and scientific approach, then it can help us a lot to develop a community sense to protect our rivers and restoring the rivers. So my understanding from this discussion that I need the response from any one of you. The river flow management, this river flow management is also an important issue for protection of rivers from not only from pollution, also from its healthy life. So if we go for the river flow management, I think this Samrat sir has pointed out a very good thing, that the dredging of the riverbed is also an important issue, which actually we are lagging in Tripura, because most of our rivers are become a riverbed is also creating problem for many of our activities. Activities means the people, those who are using river water as their source of livelihood. Maybe this Agartala 5 lakh population, they are harnessing water from Howrah River, and it is being treated and supplied to the households, the 5 lakh families. But the problem is this: when the river water flow is reduced or not sufficient, this river flow management, at least for the river like Howrah, is very important. My question to Samrat sir, because since you have have responded to that. You have raised this issue, and I expected from you that you could enlighten us about the river dredging and how we can use this river bed as a source of rainwater harvesting. Samrat sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. I have two parts of my answer. One is, I thought in terms of a local level solution that can be taken care of by the communities or the stakeholders at different points of river. Second part is definitely a government intervention, because we know that as I thought that initially it's not only the pollution that is important, but also the depth of the river, so that the water flow can be properly, water can flow properly from one particular place to another, from high end to the lower end of the river. That is also important, because that can also take care of some part of the polluted material.
Yes.
As we know, all of us we know. So in that case, as Kaushik sir also told, that the buffer zone, creation of buffer zone is very important. One is that. Second one is grazing. Locality wise grazing will be important, because grazing itself, the entire, if we think about the grazing of the entire entire river length, that will be absolutely impossible for a state like ours, because it requires a huge investment. That is not possible for any government, to be very frank. So gradually from the upper catchment area towards the lower catchment area, if that is possible, grazing is possible, then that may create some kind of solution. Second point is that we need awareness. We need awareness of the people who are using the water, at the same time who are actually treating the river bed as a garbage bin. Okay, so for that, again, the demonstration of project, the demonstration effect itself, uses of social media, uses of the platforms like drama, small films, documentaries, these are going to be extremely helpful, extremely effective, because they hit a lot. We always talk about our level of satisfaction. We use environment, I'm just trying to establish it from another angle. We use environment because there is no clearly defined individual property right. We know that air is for all of us. Water is for all of us. We are not paying anything, any amount of money from our wallet for using air, for using oxygen, for using water from a river. That's why we cannot understand the exact value of that particular natural resource. So the price signal is not working here. That is a very important point. And that leads to some kind of market failure. The market itself is not there. That creates some kind of over exploitation of the natural resources, which is absolutely applicable in case of rivers also. Therefore, if we have a proper training on rainwater harvesting, getting rainwater, storing that particular water doesn't mean rainwater harvesting. We know that. This is rainwater collection. So if we have a clear-cut idea how using indigenous technology we can harvest rainwater, we can use that, and we can discharge that water, taking care of maximum possible pollutant within our periphery, then that will be kind of a solution for taking care of the pollution reduction for a particular river. That's what I feel.
Thank you, sir. Sir, my question, I want to supplement Mr. Salim Reza. He has raised one important issue, that if we can train up or aware our upper catchment, the people, those who are living in the upper catchment area, so that can help us to just clean our water in the downstream. But Mr. Reza, I have a small experience in the river Monu. Is where the people in the downstream, they themselves has created a small pond in the river, and when this flood has come or the rainy season is there, there is a sufficient flow of water. It is flowing down, and during the dry spell, these small ponds, say in every 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, after every 2-3 kilometers, they are creating a pond. And that amount of water, that is, people are going down to that place, maybe they are walking far, but they're collecting water from that pond. I think that could be a best model for Tripura-like state, where the sir has already well elaborated that his attribution is very correct, that here is this is not perennial river, these all are rain fed. So if rain goes away, then the rivers are getting dry. If we can make this kind of pond for every 2-3 kilometers, based on the requirement of the people, definitely it will have the institutional support. So I think this can help other way to get the people involved in this river conservation activities. Reza sir.
I am fully agree on this, and this is can be another type of a community approach where we can where in the rivers Rhine side where the small community is there. So we can make a small group and give this kind of a management practices so that they can protect and they can get the clean water and they can get the water at the dry season when there is a not availability water is there. Similarly, upper catchment area we can also adopt and do something so that people can plant the tree, such type of a tree, which tree that can preserve and protect the water, and the conservation of water retention is more. Like say example in the upper catchment area, we have some research work in Himalayan area and in Dehradun and this area we did. There is one bamboo species Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. There is a leaf is very big, and this species we planted. So after few years, that means after 4 years, when we check, there is some water retention also increase. And when there is a big leaf is there, that means we call that in Hindi bada patti and chota patti. The bada patti, that is the plant if you plant, so that that can be the very good approach. And there is traditionally people are doing this kind of plantation. So and also small contour and top upper catchment area, small different kind of a contour we can do. So V shape, U shape, D shape, U shape, L shape, different as per the local condition. So where that can also water can be protect and that can be not run away all entire water in the during rainy season, and dry season also we can use, and this kind of a and we can give the ownership to the local community for the management practices and to the protect all these things. So
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let me go to this Pawan Kaushik, sir. You have raised a very pertinent question that the river processing unit, these units mostly are discharging their pollutants and their wastage, the liquid waste to the rivers. And you also ask about some kind of activities which people can participate, the common people can participate apart from the industrial units, to give them a knowledge. This is how it is getting polluted, polluting our river, and how it is affecting our lifestyle down the line. Because in Agartala side, if we talk about the Howrah River, we are not discharging any kind of pollutant to them. In that sense, the industrial pollutant, it is coming from other side. So, sir, can you elaborate us on that perspective?
Yeah, Mr. Vishwandu, I just learned that the RPCs, these are river processing centers, they have, some provision to process their rubber sheets with formic acid. And that formic acid is a kind of waste after treating the rubber sheets, and that is a kind of effluent coming out of the processing centers. So what they do is they do not let them go directly to the water bodies, but what they do is they dig some well kind of thing, and they just dispose it off there and cover it. So ultimately, directly, indirectly, it is contributing to the groundwater level, groundwater table, and that goes to the river. So indirectly, that contributes pollution to the river, but this is the mechanism they have adopted so far. And so far is as the community participation, community approach you put. What I suggest is it is better to raise plantations, particularly this bamboo all over the river bank, and whatever the water body that should be surrounded with the plantations, and that will be much effective to minimize the pollutions. Thank you.
Sir, I have this one more issue to discuss. Any of you can respond. This Tripura, mostly this Agartala and the bigger cities like Udaipur, Darbhanagar, there where the goldsmith activities are going on, these people are discharging their waste, which are generating in the jewelry industries. They are discharging this water to a storm, this waste, liquid waste to the storm water drain, and which is ultimately flowing down to the river, which is contributing a lot to the river pollution. Apart from that, some people, those who are living along the river, they have developed a habit that to human extract their household garbage, everything they are dumping on the river, which is actually creating problem to the river health. So this water BOD level, pH level, these are affecting largely. And in most of our this cremation this thing. Cremation grounds are established in the river bank, and these cremation, after cremation, this whatever things are coming out, these are directly flown to river. So is there any approach at community level or institutional level or NGO level or individual level how we can deal with this kind of issue to reduce the level of pollution of river? Sir, any one of you can respond, sir.
Yeah. Actually, it's a matter of kind of timeline. Earlier in the past, we were very happy to use our water bodies for Visarjan and all, because that time the water bodies were more in numbers. I mean, we have reduced to about 5% now. Okay, and the pollutants, I mean, whatever it is, whether it is aldol, whether it is any substances, that is being increased. So with time, India has already adopted many changes, and this is the time now we should convince the community, and communities should come up with some other alternate options, because I mean, now it is not possible to practice the same which was practiced in the past, because of the so many issues. Our resources are reduced. Our I mean, consumptions are increasing day by day. Just I conducted one experiment 2-3 days back. So I would like to share this information with you all. So we have one plantation in our campus, that is Meshuafera, Nageshwar, and I think in Assam it is known as Nahar. So under this we put some these tubs to collect the rainwater, and this was the experiment. We kept some tubs in open, and we kept some tubs under the canopy, and we wanted to study the rainfall interception by the canopy, by this canopy. This is the canopy, and we collected the data and found these are the different stages. Here you can see in open, we got an average about 13 minutes, that there was a rainfall for 13 minutes, 910 ml in one tub. 920, 900, average is 910. But under the canopy, we got 520 and 530. So average is 525 ml. So in open it was 910. In under the canopy it was 525. That means about 400 ml was intercepted by the canopy. And after the rain also, when we thought let us see how much the rainwater has been percolating with time. So we got ultimately 770 and 580. These are the two different canopies. So on an average, we can say around 650 ml. So this is I just wanted to share this information. A thick canopy can hold the water, intercept the rainfall up to say 30 to 40%. And this is the situation when we cut the forest green cover on hills, and that comes down to the town, and it makes flood. So thank you so much.
Somrat sir, can you add something for this?
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. I just want to add with Kaushik sir that we have to remember one thing. If we talk about pollution, we have to take the pollution in its absolute value. That means if we think about pollution is coming from industrial wastes, and we don't have that much industries in that sense. I mean, heavy industries are not there in Tripura, so the pollution level is low. That's not exactly true in the sense that the rivers that we are having in Tripura also, they are also compared to the other, the rivers in the other part of the country, they're very small in nature. They're very small in size. So therefore, the amount of water they used to carry, that is also less. So in that way, the kind of the civic pollutions that is being generated by the cities that we are having, Agartala, Udaipur, Dharmanagar, and all this, they are quite sufficient enough to pollute that amount of water body, which ultimately will lead to a destruction of fish species and all. I have two solutions. One is that in urban areas, it's the I feel it's basically important from government to take care of the necessary steps. But in case of other areas where the community people, the rural areas, they need awareness, they need education. So I will keep on telling two things together. One is for short term, awareness building programs through extension activities will be important. But in long term, it is none other than educating people, educating the younger generations from their school level about the importance of river, about the importance of forest. Then they gradually will be able to understand the importance, and automatically they will not think about the development, they will start readily think about the sustainable development. Okay, so at the simultaneously awareness building programs through extension activities and education program for long run activities. That is my solution.
Reza sir, thus we have discussed everything at length, but my one point is still unaddressed: is how we can take these rural communities on board when this pollution control program is concerned. Can you enlighten us on this issue, sir?
Sir, that is why in the very beginning we told this is the P4 approach. That is the 1P is the private, 1P is the public, 1P is the people. This is the community. So one is the government side. They should also open the door for the local community for the planning and decision making. And second thing, we need also the private partners also to management the waste management or like the recycling, all these things. And second thing, for last, we need the people who are the river side are there and who are using the river and water, all these things. So in this way, if you give the ownership, that is, you have to build the ownership to the local people, like different activities, planning and monitoring process, so that that can be improved. I add one thing. We can do something like a you mentioned in the last question, how the local people, when they throw their garbage and wastage thing on the river, how to manage, and also they are washing all these things in the inside the river bed. There is a bank or something they are doing. So in that way, we can do some piloting some approach like a bathing plate or bathing place we can develop separately nearby the river bank, and that the waste should not go directly to the river. There can be some collection chamber, and this collection chamber we can put some gravel and other thing and some chemical or something, so that that can be water can be treated. And so in this way we can improve the situation, and we can need more partnership of the people in the system and build the ownership, so that our thing can be improved.
So thank you so much, the panelists. We have a very fruitful discussion on that, and I think this down the line, if we can harness these ideas for the community level, and if we can educate our people and mostly our future generation, I think this problem which is cropping up every day, it can be substantially reduced, and we can have a good future. Thank you so much for the valuable participation and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Bishnu Bhattacharya, for conducting this session. So interesting session with Dr. Pawan Kaushik sir, Dr. Selim Reza sir, Dr. Samrat Goswami sir. Thank you so much for your time, and time before this session you have invested. I see it seems like you have invested some time to do the research and prepare all your speeches. It's going to be very helpful for us. And this is not the end, definitely. These will definitely accumulate to our final report that we will create for each chapter of the Eastern Himalayan Nationalist Forum, and we'll definitely look into how we can progress and what best can be done in the future to take care of the solutions and suggestions you all have helped us with. Thank you so much.